everybody, and welcome back for tuning into another episode of Strange Darklings. I am your host, Kazi Alexiel, and today we are going to be talking about the different styles that there is in the alternative scene. So every style has the blanket category of it. So, you got your goth, you got your punk, you got your rave, your hippie, your circus, but if you're actually involved inside each style, there's actually sub-branches that kind of come out and keep going. And so we're going to talk about some of those small sub-branches today. Every branch, depending on where you are in the world and also what's available for social media knowledge and stuff like that, it can branch off into different types and places depending on where you are. So one of the things that we are going to be talking about is the goth style. So generally, one of the things that you see with goth industrial or just goth in general is black clothes, sometimes big hair, overdone, heavy makeup, heavy lipstick. Doesn't matter if you're female or male, which, yes, that can be portrayed as a goth. But there is also other styles as well that can be portrayed with that. But some of the styles that we are going to get into today is like the casual goth who, wears the kind of skulls, but they also like to dress in sundresses of color. And every once in a while, they'll kind of, dress up fancy and wear the gothic thing. But they love the nature and they love the culture. They just don't show it as much as some of the other cultures do, which that's fine. We know you exist. We know you're there. But, they'll wear like the sugar skull purses and they'll have, the love and the definitive or the skull nails and like little designs, earrings and stuff. But they don't show it all the time. They'll wear a pink sundress in the middle of summer because it's too hot. And so that's only one of the types of goth that we also have. Another one is the Victorian goth. So the word Victorian actually derives from the Victorian era. And so the gothic culture behind that is they actually usually wear a lot of lace, a lot of ruffle. They'll have like bustles or petticoats underneath their clothing, and they'll have like corseted tops with like a bustier, and it'll be big and elaborate, especially in the butt region. So usually that's when they had like the cages or the bustiers and stuff like that, which actually projected that their bottom looked a lot bigger than it was. And usually in our day and age for the Victorian era, you'll see them with like the big tall platforms. Usually they'll have like a parasol or a large hair, something to kind of show that they are a bit of a different style than what normal people are used to. But they'll still have like the heavy makeup, but most of it's influenced from the actual Victorian era in our society and culture, which is around like the 18 to 1900s. But a lot of style and influences have been originated or have come across from this type of era itself throughout history. Another one that we wanted to talk about was the pastel goth. Now this one is a little bit more fun because this can also kind of transfer into the Lolita, which is also Japanese. But so the pastel goth is somebody who is of gothic descent or nature, but they wear a lot of bright colors. So you'll see them with like pastel-y greens in their hair and blues, and they'll wear the over-accented bright makeup. They'll have the piercings, they'll have, the tattoos, whatever it is, but they'll look a lot brighter and happier in nature and in their clothing style than most of the other ones, just because it's such a vibrant color. It's so bright, but nobody ever actually pegs it for being a gothic style. So that's kind of one of the fun ones. And another one that we're actually going to be talking about is the neo-goth. So now, what a neo-goth is, or an anti-goth, as people call it, is they actually wear the inverted colors of a gothic person. So instead of wearing like all black and being dressed that way, they'll actually wear all white. Most of the times you'll see it as part of the cyber fashion or a lot of the romantic. They even have a bunch in Victorian as well. But it's, you are dressed in all white from head to toe and, wearing like greens and blues and stuff like that. You're still wearing the actual Gothic clothing itself and the brand names and whatever the case may be, but everything's inverted. So it's like the inversion of color, the inversion of being a goth, which is very misrepresented and very underachieved, especially in what I've known throughout the years. So I have met some people who are of the style, and it's a very hard style to maintain, especially when you're doing like the white hair and everything like that. But it is still a true style that does exist in our society that a lot of people don't actually know about. And some of the other styles that we do happen to have throughout our society, especially in the goth culture, is the vampire culture. Now, these are originated from movies and such. So think like Lestat, and think of different vampires over the generations and over the years. A lot of it is based, like they'll have frocks and they'll have the giant cloaks, but they'll also have implanted fangs. So there's two different types of fangs that you can get. One of them is the just glue-on fangs that you can wear for a couple of hours. They usually come with glue, or people like myself who used to wear the fangs, we would get denture glue, which you dry off your teeth and then hold the glue there for a couple of minutes to make sure it didn't stick. You could drink and stuff through it. And that was one of the best ways to hold on it. Or you can actually go to your dentist and you can get vampire fangs installed. So what they do is they actually put a wire in the back of your mouth and they attach these fangs on there. So there is the removable ones, or you can get the actual teeth casted on there and they're not removable at all. So, I mean, depends on how you want to go. Vampire goths are usually a little bit more out there. They're a little bit more crazy. They're the ones who will wear like bright colored contacts and make themselves look as vampiric as possible. Usually black painted nails. Nails are sharpened to a point. But there's so many different types and styles throughout the history. Like, we do have the hippie goth. So those ones are a little bit more free-spirited. You'll see them with the dreads. They'll have little beads or charms in their dreads as well. They'll kind of have like a woodland little creature look to them. So it looks like they just kind of walked out of a forest. But they still have like the cool outfits and it's all goth and done up. But they'll have like jagged skirts and like ripped kind of look to them. Or another thing is there is the tribal goth, which the hippie does fall under as well. But they'll usually have like the tribal intricate markings. They're mostly around the musical clashes. You'll see them with like tambourines and they'll still have the goth look to them, but it'll be more in like earth tones and darker colors. A lot of greens and reds and burgundies usually. But also another style for the goth community is called the graver. Now this is actually a gothic raver. It usually falls under, they'll have bright colors or they'll wear the candy on their hands and stuff like that. But it also falls into the goth category because it'll kind of be like a mashup between a cyber that looks like a gothic raver with like the wraps and the hair falls, but they'll also have a lot of other pieces and stuff to them too. Another type of style that gets misrepresented that is actually not part of the goth community is the emo style. So emo means emotional. They usually, dress in like band outfits. They'll have bigger hair as well. Usually a lot of hair flips and toss. They are not gothic. And I cannot stress that enough because a lot of people always think they are. They'll get the two confused. And that is not okay, considering that emo is a very pouty, younger look that's generally associated with certain bands. I am not too familiar with the bands itself, but it does have a very precise look. Another thing is metalheads are not gothic. Yes, they dress in all black. Yes, they usually wear ripped jeans and stuff like that, which is more of a punk look. But they are usually associated with certain types of bands. And they are not goth, although a lot of people kind of throw it as a blanket term as well for them. But metalheads are their own different classification and category. So another thing is, what we're going to talk about is the punks. So again, punk is another blanket term to cover it all, but there's a few different styles like the garage punk, you got your crust punk, your glam punk, even your Celtics, your gypsies, and then there's also the punk rock. So a crust punk is somebody you'll see with like a bihawk or a trihawk, big hair, definitely looks like they walked out of XXX movie, but those are the ones that usually have the rivets and the spikes on their jackets. They'll have like the giant band patches all over a vest, and they're the ones who are usually drunk in a back lane somewhere, where it's like a very older kind of dirtier style for the crust punk. Glam punk though is quite the opposite of a crust punk. So those are the ones that wear like the high brand name labels. They're a very beautiful looking type of punk. Usually they'll have like the top hats, but they'll still have that edgier style to them. The gypsy punk, well, that one is a little bit more free spirited. So they'll wear the flowy clothes, but they'll still have the rocker band t-shirts, still hand make everything. And then the punk rock, which is actually somebody who looks like a rocker, but they're still part of the punk. So you'll get like the band half stripe pants or half check pants, a tight, nice shirt that generally has like a band logo on it. So they're a very nice and well done up. They're usually the ones wearing like either the Chucks or the Doc Martens. Another little type of blanketed term for, I don't know if it falls under goth or not, but it is a part of Japanese fashion, which is called a Lolita. So you actually look like a doll. So one of those beautiful made up dolls that you see on the shelves and stuff like that. And it's a very elaborate type of outfit and a very elaborate type of wear. So you'll have like your little dolly shoes. You'll have big hair. Sometimes you'll have, little toys and stuff in the hair, as well as the clothing itself is larger. It's a very cute and adorable type of style where you're just very well done up. Your face looks porcelain, and it does require a lot of makeup skill as well to try and portray that innocent child look for the goth fashion. But now we're going to be talking about the different types of electronic and rave scenes. So again, rave scene is a blanket term for everything, but you actually get a lot of different styles on there. So there is the shufflers, who usually you see them in the giant big fat pants. Shuffling is also a certain type of dance or style as well, but they're the ones who usually jump around a lot. There will be cutting shapes with their feet. Another one is Candy Kid. So those you'll usually see with the bright eccentric colors, and they're the ones with the candy, I'm using quotations there, because they're actually beaded little bracelets and sayings, and they'll have like the beaded masks and even beaded hoods, and you'll see them from like their wrist all the way up to like their elbows, if not further, covered in candy bracelets, bright colors, pacifiers, stuff like that. Another style is the glovers or gloving. It's a dance move as well as a type of style. So usually they're dressed in average, everyday, plain clothes, but they'll have gloves on them that will have lights on the inside, and they're usually cutting shapes with their hands, making tracers and glow patterns, which is kind of a unique style, and it can be very cool to watch, especially in the dark. There is the Psytrance kids, which in Winnipeg itself is actually very different from the rest of the world. So our Winnipeg Psytrance kids usually end up looking a lot more of the cyber category. They'll still have some attributes like the candied gloves, the bracelets, necklaces, stuff like that. But they will also wear the hair falls. They'll have like LED or blacklight reactive clothing, and it'll just be like this large and elaborate outfit. Whereas most people around the world, when they dress Psytrance, they do not wear the geometric clothing. They don't wear the large platform shoes with the regular outfits. And I've actually noticed it from province to province around here that it can change quite drastically depending on what location you're in. So we do have the regular party goers, or the casual ravers, as we call them. Those are the ones who will buy clothing from like I Heart's Raves, Amazing Lights. They'll be dressed in like a one piece that's a galaxy style, and they'll have like the leg wraps, unicorn horns, light up backpacks. But those are the very kind of tamed ones who mostly work on their makeup more to accentuate themselves instead of actually dressing the certain style for everyday nature. And then last but not least is the junglist style. So junglists usually have a caddy kind of t-shirt on. They'll be wearing jeans and kind of look like normal clothing, but their jeans usually have a wider base as well, same with the shufflers. But they'll also have like the baseball hats that have funny sayings, and they'll just look very plain Jane. But once the bass comes out, then you will see a junglist because they actually dance differently than other kind of styles as well. But that is going to conclude our different styles today. There is a lot that we are missing, and I mean, I know we've glossed over a few. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to them all today, but I want to thank everybody for listening, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Strange Darklings. Again, I am your host, Kazi Alexiel, and hope you have a strange night.